Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's November 4th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And real quickly, before we get started on the chart lesson, a couple of different people have asked me if I think it's safe to trade tomorrow on election day. Um, it's never been a problem in the past, but this is not your normal election. And, the word out there is that no matter which side wins, there's going to be a lot of unhappy people and there's a chance for some crazy things to happen. Um, I just don't know. I would think that it would probably be okay to trade. Honestly, I'm going to go vote in the morning, and my plan is to be here by 9 o'clock so I can do the mid morning chart. I'm probably not going to trade in the morning, at least anyway. Depending on what the day's looking like, I probably won't trade at all tomorrow because I usually don't like trading other than the morning. So once I get here and upload the chart, if I feel like trading and I see a trade I like, I may trade. But if the market's going haywire or something crazy happens, there's rumors out there that there could be some voting disruptions. So what does that mean? Terrorist attack? I don't know. So I would just say if you do trade, again, there's never been a problem in the past, so I can only go by history. And if that's the case, I'd say it's going to be perfectly safe. But again, this is like no other election that we've had in a long time. So just be safe. Make sure if you do trade, you trade with your safety stops. As long as you do that, the worst you could have is your usual loss with, and if it was a crazy move, you might get a little slippage. So, but you're not going to get wiped out. You're not going to get punished or anything like that. I wouldn't think. So I would say just if you do trade, trade wisely. I already got something from two different brokers saying they're going to raise their um, margins to normal to during the till tomorrow for the election day. So that's another reason to consider if your broker raises his margins, then you want to consider that as well because it might be full margins. It just depends on your broker. So make sure you're aware of that too, because I have seen two different emails from two different brokers saying that they would that during the election day tomorrow that um, their margins would be full margins. So anyway, if you do trade, just trade smartly. Put your safety stops in there, and I think you'll be okay even if something does happen. And something very well could happen. I don't know what to expect. They said we may not even know the winner of the election for a week. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, it might get crazy before they announce it. There could be a lot of arguing and fighting over, how accurate the results are. Who knows? I just don't know what to expect. It's crazy times, and so it's a crazy election. So crazy things could happen. Just be aware of that. So, but as far as history of election days are usually no problem. So it's just usually not an issue. But again, this is not your normal election. So I don't want to tell you it's fine to trade and then something crazy happen and, me be responsible saying it's not going to be a problem because honestly, I just don't know what to expect. I really don't. But anyway, let's get to the chart lesson. Here's today's daily chart. You can see just more of the same. The support continues to hold here. Um, we traded lower, closed back above it, and the market is closed. We did close back above it. So, uh, not the prettiest trading day, just a range day is all we had. Just a mixed trading day with a range day. We did close up slightly um, for the day, but we closed lower than we did the previous day. So, but from where we opened to where we closed up. But again, we closed lower than we did on Friday. So it's just kind of a mixed trading day. So um, I expect tomorrow to be very similar until the election results come out, and it'll be late in the evening. We'll be into Wednesday's trading day before we know any results at all, most likely. So any results that would matter. So at least so. Okay, well that you can see it there, just kind of a mixed trading day, and it's a range day on the intraday chart. But let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart, take a look at it, and we'll go through the trades. And here's a look at my 2,000 tick chart. You can see that it's a big range day. We did have a pretty good sell-off here at one point. There's no news. There's no major news items today, and we did have this big sell-off. There's 2 or 3 tomorrow as well. So be aware of that. There's 2 or 3 red ones if you do trade. But this was a pretty strong sell-off here that broke below the overnight lows. It quickly reversed, got back in all the way back up to the midline of the original range, and then we sold off again, and we tested these lows of the range 2 more times, and then finally rallied a little bit into the close. And the market's closed for now and won't open back up till 5 o'clock Central Time. So depending on where you're at, that might be 6 o'clock or it might be earlier. But it'll be 5 o'clock Central. There's not a lot of trades today. They're mostly all shorts. But let's zoom in here. We'll go through the trades that are here, talk about them, and we'll wrap this day up. 7 o'clock came as we're kind of bouncing off this low back up in here. And you get a first entry right there, and then you turn down here. It actually was a second entry when it went past the low of this bar. Wait for this bar to close. Don't trade on the engulfing bar. Wait for that bar to close. And I like going short 1 tick below that bar. And that turns out to be a pretty good move. Runs down, then we get a break of the channel here, but you also get a first entry and then a close outside this green channel, new high, and this was a second entry short. Again, don't trade the engulfing bar, wait till it closes and go short right there. There's a lower high here. If it'd been a good signal bar, I'd probably say no problem going short there, but it's not a good enough signal bar. And then we bounce down here. Actually, the overnight lows were over here, so we made a new low here. But this is where I would have had the low of the range early on. Actually, I had it a little higher at the closes, but I adjusted it as we got more closes in here, as you can see across here. But notice you get a higher low here, but I don't like that one. It's too much sideways. You got a 2-3 bar. It didn't break. If it had broke higher on this bar, maybe you go long right there. But then you get this bar. It actually, I don't know whether it broke lower or higher first. But again, don't trade the engulfing bar. Wait for this to close. If you get hung up in one of these engulfing bars, my rule is to always move my safety stop to the previous swing, which means you would have put it down here if you got hung up in this bar before it actually closed. And same thing on this one up here. Your stop would have had to go above this bar till this one closed. And as soon as your engulfing bar closes, move your stop to 1 tick below it. And then if you get stopped out, then you probably had a bad read. But that's the way I play it. If you got, let's just assume this broke higher first and you got stopped in, which you shouldn't have had a buy stop there by the end. You should have waited. I guess you should have waited for this to finish, but anyway, so you shouldn't have got hung up in this one, to be honest, because you don't trade it on the engulfing bar, and you wouldn't have traded it above these 3 matching highs here, because it's too big a chance you get stopped out. So this one it wouldn't be a problem. But assuming, let's say, it did break above this bar, was an engulfing bar, then your safety stop would go below the previous bar, which would have been here. Hopefully that's clear. But most of you should just stay away from the engulfing bars and wait till they close. But here we're still expecting price. We've already had your break and a new low, and you would expect prices to at least go back to the EMA, even if they're going to make another leg down. So I like going long here. I made it green. It's a little bit aggressive, but the odds are high we're going to at least go back to the EMA, and there's plenty of room there. And you can see this turned out to be a pretty nice move. You probably would have got a runner on it. And it runs up here. You get a close outside. There's actually a second entry long right here, but again, I don't like that signal bar. So you could have waited. I consider this as a double top, so it's a first entry and then second entry. Now, because there's a two bar, this is a little different. You do have a close outside the khaki and a new low, and you're expecting a retest of this high most likely. So because there's a two bar matching low, you could still enter on this bar if you chose. I'm not crazy about it, but it's a possibility. Um, so if you wanted to enter there, you could. I think it's a little aggressive, but you could enter there as the second entry, with this being the signal bar instead of this, because they have matching lows. Generally, I'd want it to break lower and make a new low, but because of that little two bar matching low, that's the same thing as a new low, and so it's a little further advanced. It's a little convoluted, but maybe you take that trade. And it runs on up, makes a new high. Looks like it's going to reverse, and you get a triple test here. Is the reason I like this one. 1, 2, 3. You're in a little range here, so you're just trading the range. You really need at least 3 touches, and there are 1, 2, 3 touches there, so I still think you can take that trade. It's fairly low risk. It's only 6 ticks, so you can get in that with the 8 tick rule. I marked it green, but if you want to go long there, you could. Better to wait on a higher low, and you don't really get one. There's a higher low set up here, but it's not anything you'd want to trade. And of course, this does take on off. Then you turn down, close outside, move to a new low. Looks like it's going to go higher, and it just keeps chopping lower until you get another triple test here. Now, this broke lower and made a new low. It closes well inside, so I think you're okay to go long there if you want, trading this range or this support, however you want to look at it. But generally, when you get a new low like that, you should generally wait on a higher low. And if you wait on that, you don't get one. So it was either this, taking it being a little more aggressive, or nothing there. Runs up here, you make a high, then it pushes for another high and makes a double top. So basically, that's a lower high right there. Another signal bar that's 8 ticks, fairly low risk, and it's an easy move right back down to the other side of the range. And this is all too congested, no decent setups here, so you can't go long there. If this one would have been a little better signal bar and it broke lower there, you could have entered up here, but again, it's just not a very good setup, so I don't see any way to enter it. Now, this is a strong trend down, and you got to assume that, hey, we'll probably try to test these lows as long as this stays in play. This is one of those where you might trade, once you realize it's a strong trend, you might trade any signal bar that comes back to the key entry point. I see at least one here. There's one here. And that's pretty much it. Then you get your close outside. There is a triple test here. It's also a second entry short. There's not much space to make a new low. I mean, it only has to go a few ticks. So that makes that a little bit dangerous, and that's why I don't really like the lower high, because you got to close outside here, and you've already got a new low with this bar right here. It does end up making 2 legs down, but you just don't know that, especially on a range. Since there's a failed breakout, there's a chance it's going to fail and go back, and eventually it does, but it makes 2 legs down first. So that's the only situation I see where you get the triple test that you might enter, because this is a real strong downtrend. So you're going to at least make a new low. It's just, are you going to get enough to get a scalp out? And it turns out it would have got it easily, but you did have to ride out a little bit of a pullback here. It actually turns down again, but the signal bar is not good enough. And then you make a low, and then you make a little double bottom there. And this breaks lower first and turns up. I don't think I would trade that on the engulfing bar. You could there. The problem is you already got 2 bars, and one of them has no body, so there's a strong chance you might get a little congestion there. But it's so far away from the EMA, and you've now got your close outside and 2 legs down. So there's a good chance we're going higher. at least back to the EMA. So I think you ought to wait till this bar closes. And I do think that's trying to pick bottom, so it's a little aggressive for, unless you're a skilled trader, you probably should stay away from that. It should be a little further over here. This looks more like that. And if you catch this one, it's another great entry. You get a runner. You can ride this all the way up. I'd probably ride it all the way up till you got a break below the first bearish signal bar, which would have been actually right here. So that's a pretty nice move up. Actually, it'll be right there. So that's 20 points basically. You don't have to catch many of those. I mean, a 20-point runner will erase a lot of losers. And that's just considering you're using one contract as a runner. So those runners change the math considerably. But anyway, you get a close outside, a few swings to a new high. You make a lower high, then you try to go higher again. So you try to go higher 3 times. Very bearish bar. I like going short there. And again, you can ride that one all the way probably down to the lows again. It bounces. No setup to go long there, though. So you don't really get a chance at that one. Again, you get your close outside, move to a new high, then a lower high, still way away from the EMA. I like that one. Quick, easy scalp. That's all you get out of it. And then we're just kind of chopping sideways here. There's no consistency on the lows, really. But you're finding some highs that are fairly consistent here. And notice here you get a first entry, second entry with a nice signal bar. I like that one. This is a lower high, but it's moved a little far at this point. So I'm not crazy about that one. It's close. Maybe you argue for it to be. Oops, wrong arrows going the wrong way. We need a down arrow. Maybe you argue for that one. There's no other entries here. There's another second entry short here, but the signal bar is no good. It's a shame because that's a nice little second entry right there. And you see it's a nice move down, back down to the lows, but it's just not a very good, the signal bar does not qualify. So there it is. Not a ton of trades today. There's a few trades, and it's just, there's some really good movements. It's just a shame you can't get some kind of setup off of that, but there's just nothing there. And it's dangerous. The longer you stay away from this EMA down here, the more dangerous this gets. But when you get a real strong, tight channel like that, and you recognize that it's a strong one because of all the corrections are very shallow. Notice how it's usually only a bar or some sideways stuff. This was probably the biggest correction all the way down. You got 3 bars there. Here it's all sideways. Here you got 1 bar. Here it's all sideways. But when you see that where it's very shallow corrections, lots of stems on both sides, and it's in a real tight range, and it's respecting the highs and lows of the range, that's a strong trend. And when you see those, just about any signal bar that comes back to the key entry point is good for an entry. Now, always make those green because that's more advanced, and that's you're being aggressive, and you really need to know what you're doing, and you probably need to be a profitable trader that's consistently profitable every day, because there's always a chance one of these will fail. I mean, I show these setups all the time. It's very rare you see one that fails, but sometimes they do. And that was the same thing on the way back up here. It's a strong trend. But I don't really see any signal bars that come back to the trend line that are worth taking here. That one's no good. This one's outside, so once you get one outside, just ignore those. Unless you get something like you did here where you get a triple test. But anyway, there it is. Again, tomorrow's election day. Make sure you vote. If you're in the U.S. and you're registered to vote, make sure you vote. Every vote's probably going to count in this election, regardless of which side you want to win. So exercise your right to vote. Um, I don't know what to expect. I really don't. I have no idea. If you listen to the media, Trump doesn't have a chance. I mean, it doesn't have any chance according to the media. But I don't believe one word they say because they lie about everything. So I don't know what to expect. Harris may win it with a runaway. Trump may win it with a runaway. You can't believe the media, so you just have to. Everybody just got to go vote and vote for your candidate, and we'll see where the chips fall when it's all said and done. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I think that'll do it for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'll do a chart listen tomorrow regardless, unless something crazy happens. But hold on to your hats, and again, go vote if you're registered to vote, and I'll see you this time tomorrow. This is Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.